All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another stock market outlook video brought to you by DeepView. We've got a lot to talk about today, especially considering this powerful move to end out the week here on Friday. I'll be touching on whether I think there's a new uptrend. Touching on individual stocks as well. We'll go through a bunch of charts, and we'll also, of course, cover the index ETFs. But there's a lot to talk about today, so make sure to stick around until the end. If you enjoy this, please go ahead and leave a like down below and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And let's dive right in and start with the QQQ. So overall, nice, powerful uptrend. This was the spring into summer rally. Then we've been consolidating for really since this July 19th high. We attempted to move up, rally here, made it back above the moving averages, but this fell short, broke back below the declining 21 EMA. And this is the first real rally attempt since then, where we formed a range right at the bottom of this prior low, coiled for 2 days here, and then we had a decisive move back above, now an uptrending 21 EMA. And you can see we also made it through this gap area, which had been resistance on this day as well as this day. So certainly constructive action. Remains to be seen whether this will follow through and start a new uptrend like we saw back here. But I think it's definitely the potential to start one. We're seeing a move back decisively on volume, back above a rising 21 EMA. And even more than just the move on the indexes, we saw a lot of confirmation in individual stocks as well, which we'll get to in just a minute here. We'll go through my entire list here. And there's a lot of promise. We'll have to see whether things continue to develop. I'd love to see us get back above the 50 SMA. That's going to be a big test. And it basically depends on how the market and individual stocks react once this initial momentum has kind of lessened and we consolidate for a bit. Then do we reconfirm to the upside, or do we kind of just roll over and this basically rally becomes obsolete at that point? That's kind of the key. How do we react after some type of consolidation and rest? So this initial momentum is great, but we have to see follow through. We have to see more and more stocks continue to act well, and we want to see breadth increase as well. And looking at the IWO, this is more of the smaller cap names. This is something to be aware of as well. This looks a lot worse. We're in much more of a sustained downtrend below declining 21, 50, and 200-day moving average. A lot of work to do to get back above the 21 EMA and these moving averages up here. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, we had some nice consolidation for 2 days, a nice move today, but especially on this chart, you can see there's still a lot of work to be done to get back into a sustained uptrend like we saw back in this area. So a good start, and we'll have to see where it goes from here. Moving on, let's touch on the mega cap names. First, looking up Apple. Bring up this chart. You can see a nice move off the bottom here. The 50 SMA is going to be a key test here, and that also lines up with these highs. So some confluence of resistance as well as kind of this gap area here. That will also be key around 181 to 180. And we'll have to see whether this can start to form out the right-hand side of a base. I'd love to see kind of a pullback into the 21 EMA area, rest for a few days, and then pop above that as well as the 50 SMA and start to see really a sustained move up the right-hand side of this base. Bringing up Tesla here. This had a nice oops reversal today where we gapped down and tested that 50 SMA area and responded beautifully with an oops reversal and then a decent close. We've got some tight action the past 3 days, so I'd love to see reconfirmation of the upside following through on this today's short-term momentum. And taking a step back, I do like today how we gapped down on news and then it was basically bought up and we had a pretty strong close across the board. That's pretty constructive. When bad news or news that's negative or deemed negative leads to a gap down and then we see a reversal higher, that's a sign that institutions kind of stepped in. So we'll have to see whether that holds, but this 1 day was definitely a positive. Moving on to Amazon here. You can see that this is a little bit weaker along with Apple, but also a nice move here today, still below declining 21 EMA, and still looks like almost the left-hand side of a base. So still a lot more work to do on this front. NVIDIA here is more constructive. Finally, we got a nice day of sustained strength. We have been kind of wedging off these lows. We failed to break lower on this day. This is kind of a tell for me. We didn't follow through after this day's negative action. Instead, we kind of held firm, moved back up to the upside, and then we had, again, a gap down to the 21 EMA, and then a nice push through this high. This lines up with the 50 SMA as well as this consolidation pivot up the right-hand side. So again, we need to see follow through. We need to see follow through, but it's a good start here. And I love to see how we act after we push higher, if we do, and then kind of consolidate above the moving averages, let them curl up under price, and then ideally we get a reconfirmation to the upside, continue move up after that moving average crossback. Moving on, let's bring up, let's see here. We've got NVIDIA. Let's bring up AMD as well. It's kind of sister stock. This is a lot weaker, but we're seeing nice action again. Nice push breakout off lows, then consolidation, and then reconfirmation to upside back above that 50 SMA. Another med cap in the kind of biopharm space here, LOY. This is acting quite well. NVO is another name kind of in this space that's acting well. So when you see med caps like this making moves, that's something to take note of. Maybe not directionally actionable, but again, if this kind of rests for a few days, pulls back into the moving averages, this could be something that you want to take a look at. Notably today, I saw a lot of strength in the software space. If we go over to, let's do the DeepView Universe screen, load that up, and let's go ahead and sort by price percent change. And let's go ahead and move the industry to the top here. You'll be able to see the trends that I've been noticing. So software definitely stood out. You can see that it's highlighted a lot near the top here. Software was definitely standing out. We've also got some pharma in there holding up really nicely. But this was kind of the clear theme of the day. Software, specifically cybersecurity, acted well. PanW, CrowdStrike, Okta, all those were up pretty big. And I love seeing the volume. You can see the volume run rate here. Most of them above average volume today, which again is promising action. So you can also see the moves here from the open. That gives you kind of more evidence of that strength off those lows. So that's pretty much it what I wanted to show here. And let's go back to kind of my focus list and run through each of these names. All right, so PDD, I had mentioned this a bunch on Twitter as well as my newsletter, forming a pivot at this level, as well as you could have drawn something through these highs, gap up and nice push higher, really strong breakout, up 7.3%. I love the increase in volume as well, corresponding to this move. This is part of a nice overall base pattern, and looks like, you know, we're right at those highs pretty much. So definitely constructive action, both on a short-term time frame, VCP type action, as well as the longer term pattern. Nice trend above those moving averages. Moving on, we've got CrowdStrike. Again, this theme is acting quite well. Okta, ZS, Cyber, CYBR, all of them kind of made strong moves today. Very powerful action. It wasn't on my kind of daily focus list because it wasn't quite tight enough in here. But, you know, overall, really nice move. Can't argue with that, and could have been bought through these highs. If you're buying up here, you're buying a little bit late. Hard to manage risk up there, but kind of a textbook pullback to this base pivot. You could have accumulated versus this level pretty easily, and a nice outside day yesterday, which kind of set up this powerful move. Nice pickup in volume as well. PLTR, nice action here through these highs, pop through the moving average as well as the anchored VWAP from highs. Definitely a name you want to be focused on. Really strong off these lows, and this is setting up the kind of the first base after this initial momentum. DKNG, bring this up, pop through the 21 EMA and 50 SMA, just to move off this lows. Needs a little bit more time to set up here, and not the strongest name that I see out there at the moment. VRT, I put some on today. Nice action through this pivot and a slight pickup in volume. I'd like to see more come in here, but nice action, and ideally we take out these highs and fall through to the upside. If we just reverse and take out these lows, that would be a sign that it would need more time. Tiger, nice action from this tight area, nice push higher above the 21 EMA. This is a more speculative name, and I believe Futu in kind of the same area also had a nice day today. MOD just continuing to follow through. You've got a pivot through these highs that was actionable yesterday near the 21 EMA area as well as the 50 SMA, and just nice fall through today through this high as well. Uber, nice move off lows, needs a little bit of time, a little bit wide and loose action, especially back in here. So ideally you do get some tightening action. NVIDIA, nice push higher through the 50 SMA as well as this high, as I mentioned. MBLY, nice action too, but this is also a little bit wide and loose. I'd love to see it tighten a little bit, change character for back in here, and kind of mature as a stock and see if we can finally get a move through these highs. APP, nice action off the 50 SMA. You've got a tight range here as well. Didn't close, through these highs, so not the strongest close, but ideally we do get some fall through to the upside after the strong close. Also not a huge pickup in volume, which is something to note with this name. Coursera, nice action here, setting up a kind of cheat entry here. This is a really tight consolidation that's been forming while the overall market's been pulling back in, only about 6% deep. That's something to note. And this IPO is definitely on my radar. It's well off highs, but overall, you've got a little bit of a changing character, some new volume coming into this area. Moving on, we've got Amgen, also kind of in that biopharma area, along with LOY. Decent action today. Formed a little bit of a pivot at these highs, but kind of hesitated this day, but reconfirmed on this day, undercutting and rallying through that 21 EMA. Duolingo stuttered at the pivot here, not the best close, and I would like to see more price progress given the pickup in volume, but still in play and right near this base pivot. Tesla, we already covered, nice oops reversal and test of the 50 SMA. AKIM, decent action, not the best close. Good to see it undercut and rally through these lows, but needs to fall through here through this DTL. Lastly, Costco, this is on my radar, but broke down, so I'll be taking this off the focus list, but a decent close off lows at least, but doesn't look quite right given the overall setup, and we'll have to see what happens with this name. But overall, decent action across the board. Let's bring up the QQQ once again, but the key thing is that we need to follow through off this type of price momentum bar and see participation from the individual stocks as well. So we saw, evidence of this. This does turn on the upcycle for me. We're back above an increasing 21 EMA with a powerful wedge pop type move if you follow Oliver Kell. But we have to see it fall through and how everything deals with the crossback. So thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on the market down below. Do you think we go higher, or do you think we roll over from this point? And if there's any names that you'd like my take on, let me know as well. But thanks again for tuning in. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.